I feel comfortable. I think I have 64 whole Bitcoin. And I know it's not a lot, but it's a good start. Why are you so bullish on Bitcoin?
What makes gold? Let's start there first. Like what makes it valuable, right? It's this idea that it has sound money principles. To your point, it's outside of the system and no one can create more of it, right? And that's really attractive. And it's done incredibly well since 1971 because outside the system and no one can create more of it. Bitcoin is the exact same thing. But rather than it being in an analog version, it's in digital version. There's a software that has been written that allows for a finite supply, 21 million Bitcoin. It's outside of the system and no one can create more. And so one of the reasons why I'm probably the most bullish on Bitcoin is in my career, anytime that you saw something that was the digital version of an analog asset, the digital version usually ended up becoming worth more than the analog version. And so if you think about music, right, you could go buy one CD. Now you have Spotify or Apple, and you can go and stream every song in the world. Do the thing of Amazon having one bookstore versus having any book at your fingertips through the Amazon store. And so same thing here is I think that Bitcoin eventually, because it is digital, but it has those same properties as gold, people around the world will have easier access to it. They'll eventually continue to buy it. And because you have a finite supply asset, you have increasing demand, the price of that asset has to go up to accommodate everyone. Gold bugs and kind of Bitcoin holders, they like to kind of jab at each other on the internet, but I actually think they're on the same team. And this idea that inflation is eating away at purchasing power. I was looking at the data just recently. The aggregated inflation since January of 2020 to today is over 22%. So that means that $1 of purchasing power in January 2020 today is the equivalent of 78 cents. And so if you've just been sitting in cash, you're literally losing purchasing power. You're losing value of your money. And so you
Right.
got to get out of cash and get into some other type of asset. And whether that's gold, that's Bitcoin, some people even buy stocks. But getting out
Yeah.
of cash, I think, is kind of the intelligence test of financial markets for this generation.
I always say if the government can print it, I don't want it anymore.
If you look at politics, there's 50 of these topics. I'm losing faith. I'm losing trust. And so what I want is I want to find certainty in an uncertain world. And something like Bitcoin is being a winner or kind of getting the benefit who think that Bitcoin is that thing that no one can create more of and no one's going to be able to take from them.
But the other thing too is that Bitcoin is outside the control of the government. But do you look at other coins?
If you kind of think of the traditional financial markets, you have money, right? So you have dollars, you have euros, you have yen, you have pesos, etc. I would even put gold in there, right? But things that are trying to hold monetary value, either as a store of value or a medium of exchange. And then you have tons and tons of companies. And these technology companies or non-technology companies are all competing with each other. But in your day-to-day life, you are a monetary maximalist. And what I mean by that is if you live in the United States, you get paid in dollars, you save in dollars, you pay your taxes in dollars, right? And you spend dollars. I don't in the United States sit and hold Mexican pesos or hold euros or anything else. But if I lived in Mexico, I'd be using Mexican pesos, right? I wouldn't be worried about dollars or other things. So
Yeah.
you become a maximalist, only using one currency to save and to spend. I think that's what happens in the digital world as well. You're going to have one currency. You're going to use that one currency, right? So let's say Bitcoin becomes that store of wealth and the thing you want to spend. Nobody I know has 100% of their wealth all in a single currency with no other assets, right? They have a stock. They may have, oil or some other commodity or whatever. And so the rest of the cryptocurrencies, they're not trying to be money. They're trying to be technology platforms. And so just like Amazon, Google, and Facebook all compete with each other, many of these other cryptocurrency tokens are doing the exact same thing. And so what I tell people is my version of kind of the future is that Bitcoin ends up being the big winner when it comes to a currency and will store value. Think of it as just digital gold. And then all of these other tokens, they're going to be hyper competitive. There will be major winners and major losers. And so if you want to go and try to understand the technology and predict who's going to be the winner, who's going to be the loser, you can go do that just like you can in the stock market. But if you're simply just looking for a store of value, Bitcoin will kind of be the thing that'll serve that purpose for you.
That makes more sense. Well, thanks for that. What is a halving?
Yeah, so because it is a digital asset, everything is programmatically created, meaning that somebody wrote the software, Satoshi Nakamoto, and it can't be changed, right? Or it's not going to be changed. And so part of that was if you have 21 million Bitcoin, how do you get the 21 million Bitcoin into circulation? Right? You almost think of it like it's sitting in like a digital bank, but you got to get it into the hands of the people. And so the system that was created was that every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin would be released into circulation. And that would go on for 4 years. So every 4 years, 50 Bitcoin was being given out for 10 minutes. But after that 4 years, 50 Bitcoin dropped to 25. So it got cut in half from 50 every 10 minutes to 25 every 10 minutes. That continued for 4 more years. And then we get cut in half again from 25 to 12 and a half. And now this has continued all the way till today. And so every 4 years, there's this quote unquote halving, which is really just we're cutting in half the amount of Bitcoin that comes into supply every single day. So today, 900 Bitcoin per day come into the circulating supply. Starting next, after this next halving, it'll end up being 450, and that will continue for 4 years. And so it's simply a supply shock, which if you pay attention to gold or other types of commodities, when you have a supply shock and demand stays the same, usually that ends up pushing the price up higher.
So, and another thing we're going to talk about is what would you suggest to anybody who has never invested in Bitcoin? What cautions would you issue? What would you say?
Yeah, people always ask me, what should I do? And the first thing I tell them is go learn, go read first. Don't do anything with your money, go learn. And I think the best way to do that is you can just search on Google Bitcoin white paper and you can go and you can actually read. It's a 9-page paper that'll allow you to read exactly what Bitcoin is. And that'll help you get started. You can Google what is Bitcoin, etc. What you have to understand about Bitcoin is it's highly volatile, right? It goes up a lot, it goes down a lot. Sometimes it goes down as much as 80%. And so you've got to really understand what you're buying. You've got to only put money in that you're willing to lose. And then I think that also people should really spend the time and only buy assets that they feel like they understand. And so when you realize I've done the work and you're compelled, sure, then go buy Bitcoin just like everyone else seems to be doing, but only do it after you've really done the work and understand the risks that are associated with it.
I also heard this one guy before we go to break that old guys like me shouldn't buy Bitcoin because we can't take the heart attack when it goes down. What do you think?
When you want financial returns, you need volatility. It's just that people say, hey, if something goes up a lot, it's being volatile to the upside. You like that volatility because it's going in the direction you want. What people don't like is when the volatility goes in the opposite direction that they want. And so, again, if you're going to look at or hold a volatile asset, then what you need to do is just understand it's going to go up, it's going to go down. And really, it's about being time in the market, not necessarily timing the market. So don't try to pick tops and bottoms of the market. Just use great financial principles like buying the asset and holding it for a long time.